When most people hear the name Studio Mappa, they know them for two things: astonishing animation and horrible working conditions placed on its staff.
Reports of a pervasive crunch culture, where animators are subject to grueling work hours under intense pressure, paint a troubling picture.
For the last few hours, animators back to back, one after another, as you can see here, is now talking about how pretty much Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2's production has flatlined.
And it's talking about how the higher-ups at Mappa only really care about the end result and neglect the staff improvements.
The state of anime in 2023 could not be worse. There is no need to shy away from saying this, but there is literally a crisis unfolding within the anime industry.
How did we get here? Studio Mappa, a name that needs no introduction for anime fans. And even if you don't know the studio, you've probably at least seen or heard of some of their works. Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Attack on Titan's final season. All of these are shows considered to be some of the heaviest hitters in the anime industry today. Jujutsu Kaisen alone being one of the most popular shonen series of the modern anime landscape. Studio Mappa has played a huge part in the success of these series, and in turn, the reputation of these anime have fueled Studio Mappa's meteoric rise as one of the most influential and prestigious anime studios in Japan today. Which is quite the feat for a studio that is so relatively young. But when you see the quality of work Mappa puts out, it's evident how they were able to amass such a positive reputation in such a short amount of time. Though, it's that short amount of time that could prove to be Studio Mappa's inevitable downfall. Studio Mappa was founded in 2011 by a man named Masao Maruyama. A lot of you probably don't know who this guy is, but suffice to say he is a legend in the anime industry. Having started all the way back in 1965 working under the tutelage of Osamu Tezuka, or as many of you probably know him, the creator of Tetsuwan Atom, aka Astro Boy. I won't cover the full impact and story of Tezuka and Astro Boy in this video, just, because it'll take up so much time. Though if you do want that, let me know in the comments below. All you need to know is that Tezuka is an anime god, and when you have someone like that showing you the ins and outs of anime production, chances are you're going to become something of a god yourself. Maruyama would go on to form the anime studio Madhouse in 1972 with a few other animators that had been working with Tezuka. Madhouse is a massive anime studio in the present day and is responsible for some of the most acclaimed anime in history. And it was here Maruyama would truly make a name for himself, working on series like Trigun, Death Note, Black Lagoon, and Hunter x Hunter. During his tenure at Madhouse, he had become known as a well-established anime producer, and it was his experience that played a key role in the studio's success. However, his days at Madhouse wouldn't last. As Madhouse continued to grow, it would inevitably be bought by a larger corporation, which, that's just how things in the business world typically go. In this instance, the corporation was Nippon TV, and going forward, they would have a say in the shows Madhouse would make. In the past, creators at Madhouse would typically pitch their project ideas directly to Maruyama, and that was that. However, now projects had to be considered by everybody, board members, shareholders, guys in suits basically. And this wasn't something that Maruyama was fond of. So much so that in 2011, he would leave Madhouse and go on to form a new studio, Maruyama Animation Produce Project Association, or Studio Mappa. Mappa was formed on the basis that Maruyama and his team would be able to work on the projects they wanted to work on. Creativity was the drive for Mappa's content, and you can see this in a lot of the anime Mappa produced during its early years. Shows like Kids on the Slope, Terror and Resonance, Garo the Animation, these were all projects that Maruyama and his animators were passionate about. They were unique, the kinds of shows that a corporate suit would be hesitant to greenlight. And no better is this illustrated than with Yuri on Ice. Yuri on Ice was the anime that put Mappa on the map. And it isn't hard to see why. This was a show that was born out of pure passion and love, and it was just so different. I mean, it's an anime about gay figure skaters. You can't look at me in the eye and say that some corporate suit was going to look at the premise of the show and be all like, yeah, we'll greenlight that. I'm sure it'll be super successful. Yuri on Ice existed because Mappa's creators just wanted to make it. Maruyama knew that if he just let the animators make the shows they wanted to, their passion would inevitably come through in their product, thus making something of quality that would bring them huge success. And it did. Yuri on Ice would go on to become one of the most popular shows Mappa had made at that point. Maruyama's philosophy had pulled through, and this was the philosophy that Mappa cherished in its early years. Though this philosophy wouldn't last. In 2016, Maruyama would hand off the presidency of Mappa to a man named Manabu Otsuka. And Otsuka was a skilled producer in his own right, having helped with the production of some of Mappa's most popular shows. However, after Otsuka took control, Mappa adopted a new philosophy. We thought about how we could produce a lot and gain experience while maintaining a high level of quality, and at the same time, brand the studio and join the race with the top studios in the shortest possible time. This is a mindset that defines Mappa to this day, and honestly, Otsuka achieved what he set out to do. Mappa is now one of the most successful studios in the modern landscape of anime, having just put out season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen last year to massive critical and financial success. Mappa is arguably in the best place it's been since its inception. However, as you look further into Mappa, you start to notice some things. They have a tendency to focus on the biggest IPs they can get. These are usually going to be a guaranteed success, so it makes sense from a business standpoint. However, you also notice how many of these shows they're putting out, and it makes you wonder, how are they putting out so many shows in such a small amount of time? And it's here you realize things aren't okay at Studio Mappa. In 2021, the veil had begun to lift on Mappa's success. Various employees were beginning to come forward, detailing the negative experience they had with the studio. Mappa's work environment was being described like that of a factory. Animators slaving for long, grueling work hours at all times of the day. Teruyuki Omine, one of Attack on Titan's episode directors, stated on Twitter that he hadn't gone home in 3 days, having been working on the show non-stop day and night. And if that wasn't bad enough, apparently many animators are working these hours for scraps. According to Ippei Ichi, another animator who's worked for Mappa, a producer at the studio would offer animators a pay of 3,800 yen per cut, which at the time of this video, I believe is equivalent to $25 US. For those who don't know what a cut is, it's basically the amount of time a shot lingers on a piece of animation before the camera then cuts to a different perspective. From what I can find, the industry standard for this actually seems to be around 4,500 yen per cut, which is still really low. So it'd be an understatement to say that these animators were underpaid for the amount of work they were putting in. Things like this were a big deal, and Mappa couldn't afford to have its name and success tarnished. It was imperative that goodwill towards the studio was maintained. So Mappa would go about fixing this issue in all the wrong ways. Method number 1. Deny that what you paid your employees was unfair in the first place. Method number 2, try to distract people from the controversy by building a new studio building with nice wooden desks and a cafe. Which, I mean, if the animators are going to work to death, at least they can do it in some nice wooden desks. And finally, method number 3, force your employees to sign an NDA so that they can't talk about their mistreatment. And this went about as well as you can imagine. News about this NDA would begin to circulate on Twitter, and things only got worse from here, especially with the release of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. I just want to say that I love Season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen. It genuinely has some of the most mind-blowing animation I've ever seen in any anime. Like, it's crazy. It's a showcase of animation mastery. Though not everyone felt this way when Season 2 released, noticing that certain episodes and sequences felt unfinished. These thoughts were eventually validated when numerous Mappa employees took to Twitter to lament the production of the show's second season, claiming that the anime's unreasonable deadline resulted in certain sequences only being partially finished and leaving the animators absolutely drained. And I mean, just read some of these tweets.
The worst thing is when all the staff work hard to complete a schedule that would normally be impossible to meet in time, and the people above them look at the results and think, I can't say anything, and fail to make improvements. I guess the cycle started when I completed one movie in 4 months. Instead of making people write a pledge to avoid complaints, could you please create an environment where they won't complain? I was really disappointed. This isn't fun anymore. I wonder. Everyone is not trash like me, so I know that everyone's sympathy and encouragement must be from the bottom of my heart. But right after releasing something that I'm not satisfied with, that kind of thing will have the opposite effect. So for now, I want you to leave me alone.
I'll make up for it in my future work. Until then, I will live my life as the worst animator who has ruined a masterpiece.
Throw your card key in the company trash can when you leave work.
I want to die quickly.
I mean, what do you want me to say? It isn't even just Japanese animators. Mappa, due to the quantity of shows it works on, often has to hire freelance international animators, and apparently it's just as bad for them. Vincent Chanzard, a notable animator who's worked on shows like One Piece, Boruto, and of course Jujutsu Kaisen, has gone on record saying he will never work with Mappa again. I wonder why that is. And yeah, it's sad. Anime is more popular now than it's ever been. And those in charge at Mappa saw this as an opportunity to build their reputation as the best in the business. And I mean, yeah, they're incredibly successful and have built a reputation unlike any other studio, but that reputation is being built on the backs of animators who, quite frankly, are at the end of their rope. That doesn't seem like a sturdy foundation to build your legacy on. And sooner or later, it's all going to come crashing down. Manabu Otsuka has responded to some of this criticism, suggesting that in the future they could potentially use AI to lessen the workload for some of its animators, though he also clarified that this would be for small things like generating background art. He's still very keen on bringing in even more workers to the studio. However, having more workers isn't necessarily going to do anything if you also treat them like trash. Mappa, if it wants to survive, needs a fundamental shakeup to its philosophy. Right now, they're so preoccupied with maintaining their bottom line and pleasing companies and board members that they don't even care that they're spreading their animators thin with the amount of shows they're trying to pump out. It's a far cry from the philosophy the studio was founded on, and it just goes to show that nothing is incorruptible. Something can be built with the best of intentions, but somewhere down the line, those good intentions can change, and you end up bearing witness to the birth of a monster. Hey guys, as always, thanks for watching. Sorry if it got a little heavy, but it's an important topic. I figured it's important to talk about. Go ahead and let us know your thoughts on Mappa in the comments below. And you know what? If you're interested in anime companies, why don't you check out The Rise and Fall of Funimation? That was a pretty fun one. I think you'll enjoy it. Until next time, guys. Take care.